morning, Canada, and welcome to the weekend edition of Your Morning. I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
I'm Matt Scooby.
And I'm Michelle Jobin. Thanks so much for starting your morning with us.
We have some exciting stuff here this morning, some great conversations, including a closer look at memory loss and aging. We speak with a specialist to find out what's just regular memory loss and what could be cause for concern.
A really important conversation. We are also looking into a new survey that sheds some light on the situation of women's healthcare in this country. Here's that conversation. Doctors they can't access, health concerns that aren't listened to, and the growing toll that takes on the lives of women. Those are just some of the findings of one of the largest surveys conducted on women's health in Canada. Nearly 30,000 participants across the Maritimes provided their input, and the results paint a picture of a system that is largely neglecting half of Canada's population. Joining us with more this morning is Jennifer Gillivan. She is the president of the IWK Foundation. They carried out this survey. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's go through some of these results. According to this survey, 66% of women reported not being okay, whereas 21% of women reported being in crisis. But the findings went deeper into how these issues affect the personal lives of women and the people they support. So sum it up for us. What did you discover?
Well, interesting enough, we had answers to the questions, but we also had narratives. We had stories. We have over 13,000 stories. And I think what came through as a theme loud and clear was women feel dismissed. They don't feel like they're being taken seriously. And then on the data side, over 75% of them either delayed or didn't go at all for their own health care. They either delayed because they were putting everybody else in the family first, or because of negative experiences and because they're not being listened to, they just delayed or didn't go at all for their own health care, which is really sad.
Well, nearly 30% of women reported that they couldn't access a family doctor. More than half reported, as you said, downplaying concerns. 75% said that they were delayed or avoided this care altogether. Why do women appear to have a different experience from men when they're navigating the healthcare system? What did you find?
Well, first of all, the medical system's been set up for centuries as the male is the standard norm. It's not been set up for women. Women are considered atypical. And so even the research, there's less than 7% of research in this country is done on women's bodies. And so when they do access healthcare, it's not understood. So when you look at some of the areas that these women laid out for us, menopause, premenopause, postmenopause, that's like 30 years of our life. It's hormone testing, and that leads into stress, obesity, sleep disorders. They were listing these as their major concerns, and then they listed heart disease and cancer. And what we heard overwhelmingly from women is they can't go in and just talk about one thing. It's an interconnected system. And so what they're looking for is a medical system that's built for them. We haven't had a national health strategy for women since 1999 in Canada. Women were only included in clinical trials in the 1990s. And so my message, I guess, because this is a national show and I'm very grateful that you're showcasing our survey, but my message nationally would be, Canada, it's time. If we're going to build Canada, let's build it for the other half as well. Let's make sure we're healthy. And women, what really stood out to me was we did 3 different provinces. We did rural and urban, and all of them answered similarly. And that tells me this is women. This is a women's story. And my bet would be if we did this survey anywhere else in Canada, take out the geographic nuances, you would get similar answers.
Well, Jennifer, this is my question, is for most women who are watching this, people who are here or wherever they are at home, this is not surprising. We have these conversations all the time amongst women. So it's great that you've put some statistical data to it. What's going to happen with these findings? Studies have been done before. There's been anecdotal evidence for decades. How do we bring about the change that is outlined in your survey? If I were to go upstairs or just cross the street right now and talk to women I didn't know, they'd have the same stories.
Absolutely. I think what's unique about this, studies are done on women, the few that are done, there's not enough. But what's unique about this is we started with, what are women saying? Women are rarely asked. If you look at anything in life, we're rarely asked. So now we know, at least in our region, and I guarantee you we're working with organizations across the country. What has to happen now is when people have to listen, and people like yourselves and shows like this are really important, because you're opening up the door for people now to go and look at this kind of survey, to have those deeper conversations. But it's not going to be one government, it's not going to be one organization that fixes this. It's going to take us all, because it's a systemic change. We're launching a movement called WHEN, Women's Health Equity Now. And we're saying, if not now, when? If not us, who? And the us is all of us. And so it's listen and then see what can you do where you are in your world. I took where I was, the platform I had, and I'm pushing for change. I'm pushing for change regionally, but I'm also working with others to push for change nationally. We need a national women's health strategy that brings it all together. We need more than 7% on our research, on our bodies. We pay taxes. You and I pay taxes. Mm-hmm. That is not a good return on our investment. And less than 9% is the curriculum that's on women's bodies in med school. That's not a return on our investment either. So it's time women, I don't want to hear there's not enough money, there's not enough anything. It's about a priority. And if women and over 50% of our population is a priority, then let's actually walk our talk in this country.
President of the IWK Foundation, Jennifer Gillivan, great to talk to you this morning. If people are interested in your results, they can find them on the site. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Coming up.
Certainly, if you have memory problems, you might not remember that you have memory problems.
Thinking, yeah.
Exactly.
The difference between regular memory loss and dementia. We find out exactly what's a regular part of aging and what's cause for concern.
Kids Help Phone is kicking off the newest chapter of its Feel Out Loud campaign with a brand new video featuring a familiar song. Take a look.
Hello, Kids Help Phone. How can I help?
I need somebody, not just anybody. I need someone. When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. And now these days are gone and I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I changed my mind and opened up the doors. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down. And I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please, 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 please help me.
Well, through the Feel Out Loud campaign, Kids Help Phone is aiming to create safe spaces for kids right across Canada to explore and express their feelings. I am feeling the feelings this morning after watching that. Jenny Yoon, great to have you in. Thank you so much from Kids Help Phone. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us back.
That is a powerful campaign, and it's not just a product of creative invention. There is real inspiration that has gone into the scenes we just saw.
Yeah, it's really young people are our inspiration. These are the real stories and real words that young people are telling us and talking to us about every single day. 50 million data points from these conversations are aggregated and anonymized to create these stories. And then when you power it together with the cinematic metaphors of the parent who's dissolving in the stardust, it's really signaling loss. The journal hugging a young person is really isolation and self-acceptance. Then you combine it with an iconic Beatles song of help, really does transform the ability for young people to ask for help.
There is meaning behind the timing of this video release as well. Kids are back in school now. Why is this a particularly difficult time for them?
It's a change in routine. At Kids Help Phone, every single year, our highest volume is around back to school. And back to school for us starts in August, because it's when young people start to feel that sense of, while there's excitement, there's a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress that comes with a change in routine and social relationships. So we've seen a 20% increase in conversations about anxiety and stress, about those changes. And it's on average about 18% increase in our volume every single year. So it's a prime time that we have to let young people know that we are here.
The goal of the Feel Out Loud movement is to create these spaces where kids can safely ask for support with the challenges that they're facing. So what kind of actions is Kids Help Phone doing to make that possible?
Yeah, it's such a great question. The reality is, help means everything. And so the ability for us to be there for the 8.2 million young people across the country is critical. This is the largest youth mental health movement in Canada. And for us to be able to continue to evolve our clinical services, ensure that there's actually equity and access to mental health services that reflect the diversity of Canada, and then continue to innovate, because you know this as well, you have kids in your life, how they communicate and how they consume content varies and changes. So we need to be able to meet that moment.
You need to meet the moment. I love that. We are 5 years removed from the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. What changes has Kids Help Phone seen over the past 5 years in terms of volume?
Yeah, it's such a great question again. So in 2019, right before the pandemic, we were at 1.9 million connections a year across all of our services. That was already a 30% increase. So we were seeing this mental health crisis emerge. And then what happened is in 2020, as we all know with the pandemic, we went from 1.9 million in a single year to 4.5 million connections across all of our services. And that is now our new normal. So we're at about 22.5 million connections since the pandemic. And the reality is that's actually a silver lining. It actually means that young people have found a safe space, a non-judgmental place to reach out. So while it might be a gasp, it's actually a silver lining.
Well, I was just thinking that it tells us two things. It tells us, one, that people need help, but it tells us that they're reaching out for help, which is amazing. People at home can donate. How crucial are donations that you receive in terms of continuing to build that trust with young people?
Yeah, we said it before, it really does help us meet the moment. There are conversations happening even now as we're speaking. So the ability for Help Means Everything is not just for young people, but actually for trusted adults to be able to support our service, because it really means changing and connecting with young people every single day in whatever moment and whatever feeling that they're feeling.
Jenny Ewan, it is so great to have you on the show. We really
pleasure.
appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you so much for the conversation.
Memory loss is a normal part of aging. We know that. About 40% of people experience mild memory loss after the age of 65. But for some people, their memory loss is impacting how they live their daily lives. So when does it become a cause for concern? Dr. Donald Weaver is joining us this morning. Dr. Weaver is a senior scientist at the Krembil Brain Institute. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So let's talk about memory loss versus signs of dementia.
Yes.
Everyone has a moment where, they forget their keys or they forget the details of a story. So how do we know when it's a sign of concern?
Yeah, as you mentioned, certainly everyone has these little moments where they forgot the keys, forgot something, you go, oh no, is this it? There really is a difference between the memory changes of normal aging and, of course, memory changes that could be foreshadowing something worse like dementia. If the memory changes are predominantly of recent events, if they're persistent, and if they are impacting on your ability to carry out your activities of daily living, then we start to pay attention to them, because that could be a significant sign of a memory loss.
Is it harder for the person in the moment to recognize? Are you relying on other people? Where does the line get drawn there?
Yes. Certainly, if you have memory problems, you might not remember that you have memory
That's what
problems.
I'm thinking, yeah.
Exactly. Early in the process, you're aware of your own memory problems, but as this evolves, then you're much more dependent upon your family members and the people around you who start to notice that this is a significant issue.
When it comes to dementia, why is an early diagnosis just so important?
Times are changing in the area of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. There is work going on new drugs, on new ways of diagnosing it. And so I think that, the future is bright. So if you really do have some memory problems, recent studies have shown that intensive lifestyle modification may slow the process down. So,
what do you mean by that?
Being physically active, being socially engaged, challenging your brain, diet, avoiding ultra-processed foods. If you actually put all these into a combination and start modifying your life, you could slow the process down.
When, though? What age should we really be thinking about this?
Oh, it's never too young.
Really?
Yeah. The brain health is your future health.
Yeah.
And it's never too late. It's never too early, and it's never too late.
I was going to ask you that, too, because once you're sort of in it and you're starting to notice signs, you go, okay, wait, I got to switch
Then you
stuff
go,
up.
if I start now, I can slow this process down. And, if you're young, starting to take care of your brain in your early years will protect you down the road. It's important.
When you receive a diagnosis of dementia,
yes,
what does your life look like?
hopefully not that much changes. Actually, I mean, I know you're looking at me with a little bit of skepticism.
Well, it's
there.
a scary diagnosis, right?
It's a very
For
scary
anybody.
diagnosis, I know. Dementia is a slow process. It evolves over the course of years. And so when you get the diagnosis, you've got to think, what can I do to slow this down? What can I do to change it so that I can keep my life as normal as possible? So those various factors that I mentioned, they're important. And yes, there's going to be some changes like driving. You won't be able to drive and other issues. But, you know, with family support and with other supports, you can have a pretty good life continuing.
I want to ask you about that element of it too, the emotional side of this,
Yes.
the mental health side of
Yes.
this. What can we do to best support a family member or ourselves?
You know, dementia is not a disease of the individual, it's a disease of the family. And you really do have to think of all the people involved. It's not just the person, but their family. They need support. And if they have support, they work together and they can work as a unit and get through this.
Dr. Donald Weaver, an important conversation. Thank you for joining us in studio today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Up next, ever heard of interpolation? We find out what it means and why music critics are using it to describe some of the songs from Taylor Swift's latest album.
The release of Taylor Swift's latest album has led to long movie theater lines, viral podcast episodes, and here's the other part of this, a surprising debate among some internet sleuths. Joining me this morning to explain is Emilie Hanskamp, music journalist. Good to have you here.
Always great to be here.
Okay, so let me break this down with you. So at the center of this controversy is Taylor Swift's new song, Would. So let's first take a little bit of a listen to it. Okay, I had never heard this song. I even can tell right away. Some people are saying it sounds too much like the classic I Want You Back from 1969 by the Jackson 5. Here's a clip of that song now, listen. Okay, so some people, Emilie, are saying this is sampling. Other people are saying it's interpolation, which I've never heard this word before.
Fair enough.
So break down these terms for us.
Yes. So anyone sitting at home, us sitting right here, they sound similar. You're not losing your mind. They do. But let's just quickly break down. So interpolation, for example, there's a song on Taylor Swift's new album. It's called Father Figure, which is an interpolation of George Michael's song with the same title. That means you're taking a bit of a song, a musical element, a recognizable element from an existing song, and you're recreating it, reperforming it. Now that is different from sampling. Sampling is you're not recreating it or reperforming it. You're directly taking like a song or a beat or a part of a song as is, and you're copy pasting it basically into a song. So what people are saying with Would, as we just heard, it was not there was no interpolation license there like with George Michael's Father Figure. So they're saying it is so similar to Jackson 5, there should be an interpolation license there, that there's some accusations of even plagiarism, copyright infringement. That's what the sleuths are saying, at least.
So the sleuths are saying. Does that mean that there could be some legal trouble for Taylor Swift?
Well, the thing is that similarity does not equal copyright infringement, and I know it can be kind of challenging for us when we hear those, especially back-to-back, and how similar they do sound. But there's a few things to take into consideration, specifically with pop. First of all, we've got 12 notes in a scale, and if you think about pop specifically, usually the songs are operating within a limited structure in terms of the structure of the song. Usually it's maybe 3 to 4 chord progressions. There's not a lot of variety there. So there's going to inevitably be overlap. Forensic musicologists and artists will tell you, you know, if you have tens of thousands of songs being released a day, the overlap is inevitable. So nobody has come forward yet, these estates, to kind of pursue this legally. That's an important thing to note. And also to remember, similarity does not equal copyright infringement. I'm sorry.
Okay, but there is precedent here because this isn't the first time allegations like this have come up in the industry. Remember back in 2015, a federal jury in California ordered artists Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams to pay millions in damages. Do you remember this? After it found that their song Blurred Lines sounded too much like Marvin Gaye's 1977 song, Gotta Give It Up. So let's listen to both of those back to back.
If you can't hear what I'm trying to say, if you can't read from the same page, maybe I'm going deaf, maybe I'm going blind, maybe I'm out of my mind. Oh, I used to go out to water and stand now, 'cause I was too nervous.
Okay. So that happen. Ed Sheeran has also been on the receiving end of comparisons in the past. So what kind of legal precedent does exist?
So I even saw a reaction there. That Robin Thicke decision and Pharrell decision, that created kind of a chill in the industry because after that point, they had to pay $5.3 million and award half of all publishing royalties going forward. There was this feeling of a fear among artists and composers of like, when we create something, how do we know if it's going to be so similar that will be pursued legally? Fast forward to Ed Sheeran in 2022, he was also Marvin Gaye's estate as well, came forward, and in the end they sided with Ed Sheeran, which was a major decision for precedent in the music industry because as Ed Sheeran said, 12 notes in a scale, there's going to be similarity. We can't always be fearing this kind of legal repercussions, but the issue here is that now we see a lot of artists settling these things out of court to avoid high-profile expenses and also kind of giving credits just in case. They're saying, this is kind of similar. We saw that with Olivia Rodrigo recently, who credited Taylor Swift on her song Deja Vu, just in case they'll credit an artist.
Do you have to pay them, though?
Well, it depends on the royalties and the kind of, you have to work that out on the side, which is why often they're choosing to do that outside of the court to avoid these things. Or after, because now we see these sleuths come forward. Sometimes the estates will come forward and say, hey, sounds pretty similar. Do you want us to take this to court? And the artists are saying, I don't want to go through what Ed Sheeran or Robin Thicke went through. Let's just settle this.
It's so interesting. And also how that impacts people's writing process,
Oh,
too.
big time. Huge conversation.
Yeah. Emilie, thank you so much for being here. That was so interesting.
Thank you so much.
Next week on Your Morning, there was only sound at one point. And Chantal's version, Chantal Kraviatzik, on her upcoming album of hits that she's written for other artists.
Good morning, Canada. Welcome to Your Morning. We hope you're having a fantastic weekend. I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
I'm Matt Scooby.
And I'm Michelle Jobin. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Now, lots more great stuff for you coming up in this half hour. In just a few minutes, we'll be in the kitchen with some delicious breakfast tart recipes.
Sounds good. We always love a good breakfast. Before we bring you those, we're going to give you a sneak peek at a new film that's putting Canada's Somali community on the big screen. Here's that conversation. Two teenagers fall in love, but violence breaks them apart. And then years later, their romance rekindles, but at what cost?
Love? And what do you know about love?
And everyone's looking for you. We can't. People would lose their minds. They would start sniffing around, asking questions.
A Tribe Called Love follows Farah and Halima, who grow up in a Somali neighborhood in Toronto, and despite being deeply in love, they face rising tensions between their families' conflicting tribes. Director Mohammed Ahmed and actor Delmar Abu Zaid join us this morning in studio. Good morning, welcome. I watched you watch your work. Both big smiles on your faces.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Mohammed, this movie takes a deeper look at the long-standing cultural beliefs that gets passed on to first-generation kids. This is a story that happens right across this country. How do we see it play out on the screen?
You see it play out on the screen when Halima from one tribe and Dalmar from another tribe try to actually form a relationship together, and the community tells them that they can't do that. And my background is Somali, and there's a lot of divisionness with tribalism. And in a world that's becoming more divided, this film just comes at a perfect time.
You know, I've been part of reconciliation groups, based here in Toronto and other parts of Canada that take a look at, families who have left countries and come here, and oftentimes that the fighting that they fled stays with them, that fire stays with them, and that's where you see communities coming into conflict and trying to weigh in on this next generation who are just trying to be raised in the country that they're in. So when those tensions come up between tribes, things can turn violent. And in other films, we've seen how sometimes this can be sensationalized. It can be the focus. But you wanted to stay away from that, focus on the love story. Why?
That's correct. So yes, in my film, there is aspects of violence, but we don't glorify it or romanticize it. We use violence as a tool to show what's at stake when love tries to exist in a world of old wounds, First generations that come here from back home carry their traumas, you know what I mean? And that's perfectly natural. But it's the battle with the diasporas, the people that grew up here, battling, growing up here and having the traditional values from back home.
New country, old beliefs, and
That's
the
right.
conflict that happens.
That's
Delmar,
right.
haven't forgotten about you.
Hey.
The connection between your character, Farah and Halima, is so strong on screen. How did you build that chemistry between the two of you?
Yeah, we had the pleasure of getting to meet, in a feature film, you have the time to meet your team, to meet Muhammad, to meet all of the people involved that are going to be working together. And so I think right off the bat, there was this understanding that we all came from a similar upbringing. I've never been on a set. I've been, few times in my career have I been on a set where people understand where I'm coming from and how I grew up, and it makes a difference. It's like an intangible thing where it feels like you just kind of hit the ground running.
Yes.
And I know that that's a gift. You can't predict when you're on a movie if you're going to get along with people, how it's going to go. But I think that because of, where this story was coming from, the fact that Muhammad's had this story living with him for years, really made that it came from a sincere place. And I think that we all kind of understood that and were able to just, live in this world, which was really a wonderful experience. And so, I didn't even think once, how is it going to look? How are we going to get along? It just kind of was like the next thing and the next thing and the next day and just a great ride.
You see all of that show up on screen. Listen, the cast and the crew, you brought this up. On this movie, they're largely East African, and you've both worked in other production facilities and on other shows before. So describe more of that. What was it like to be surrounded by people who share similar backgrounds to you, that shorthand that happens that maybe doesn't exist when you're on a more mixed crew, for example? Like, what's the ease that you were talking about, Delmar?
Yeah, I think that I'm maybe used to seeing other actors that might be East African, but there were also people behind the scenes, that I don't usually see in positions that could kind of inform how I relate to, someone that I'm working with off camera and how I understand the other roles involved on a set, that really played into this comfort, this thing that, like, if I, made a joke that people, some people would understand where it's coming from, or if I talked about something in my life, people would kind of understand the reference in a way that I'm not used to, and so it just felt a little bit like there, strangely like an intimacy. As far as like, I know what that's about. I grew up doing this thing like you did, and it's like, but I'm here at work. And so we're talking about, something, Saturday morning cartoons or something, and a specific cartoon, we're like, you know that. Why do you care about it? It made it a warm environment. And some of the actors, this is their first time on a big screen, and they just have incredible, energy. They have incredible personalities. And
we tried to make the movie as authentic. So casting was really hard, but we went to where the people were, where the community was. And just like Delmar said, even the people behind the camera, people that were working, we made sure that it was a very diverse crew. Yeah. Because this was my first project, and working on other projects, I was like, when it's my turn, I'm gonna do it the right way,
Start as you mean to go, as the saying goes. Listen, congratulations to both of you. A reminder to everybody at home, A Tribe Called Love premieres this weekend at the 2025 Real World Film Festival in Toronto. Thanks so much, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, he's quite possibly the greatest explorer of all time that no one has ever heard of. Our next guest likens him to the Wayne Gretzky of Arctic exploration. I'm talking about a man named Hubert Darrell, who made extraordinary solo journeys across the Arctic before mysteriously disappearing back in 1910. So fast forward to now, enter another legendary explorer, Adam Schultz, who retraced Darrell's steps in an effort to figure out what happened. Spoiler alert, he thinks he's cracked the case in his new book. And Adam Schultz is here in studio to set the scene for us. Great to have you back, Adam. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get into this. When I was reading part of your book, too, and I was getting into it the other day, it struck me as part Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, Park National Treasure, and the beginning of the movie, being up in the Arctic and going to discover this. It is a lost story, but this explorer for it. Take us through how you came across Hubert Darrell and getting into his story.
Well, my favorite thing to do is to be out in the wilderness myself. My second favorite thing to do, if I can't be out in the wilderness, is read about it. That's where I get my inspiration from. So I'm always reading through old explorers' books, journals, manuscripts, and there was a name that would keep coming up, the name of Hubert Darrell. But it would always be in passing, just a sentence here, a sentence there. But they spoke of him as if he was a legend, this man of iron who could travel through thousands of miles on foot in the dead of winter. And that hooked my interest, so I started looking through the old newspaper archives, and I found the headlines that he had vanished seemingly without a trace in 1910. And I thought, a lost explorer in the Arctic, not named Franklin. How have I never heard of this? So I went to go seek out his old letters, his old maps, anything, any trace that had survived of him in the archival record. And I used that as the basis for planning an expedition to try to retrace his route and figure out what happened.
What was that process like, going back to, right, because it's not social media, it's not, digitized, itemized, trying to find it, research from 115 years ago, if not longer than that. Take us through that process of what that was like for you.
It was very slow. Luckily, he had written letters to a brother in Manitoba who'd lived on a farm around the turn of the century. His brother, after Daryl disappeared, held on to those letters as keepsakes, and then eventually they were donated to a local archive. And there they sat collecting dust for over half a century until I came upon them. And I had to go through them very carefully, try to decipher his handwriting. In places it was only half legible, water stained. Some of the letters had faded, but I transcribed everything he had written, including the last letter he had posted from a fur trade post north of the Arctic Circle.
Wow.
And that gave me enough breadcrumbs to follow his trail and do my own expedition to try to find out what happened.
So let's talk about that. So you get into this. I know your journeys too. So and we have a map up here, I think, of some of this expedition too and where we went. So take us through what you did as a result of this and what your journey was like trying to retrace his steps.
Yeah, in the beginning, I was doing expeditions for the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, which weren't specifically about Hubert Darrell, but I would often find myself on some river or some chunk of ice and say, Hubert Darrell was here 100 years earlier. So then I started doing expeditions specifically designed to try to narrow down the area where he had vanished. And I would try to leave no stone unturned. I would interview people, but no one had ever really heard of him. It was more than 115 years ago, so the memory had faded away. But then I did 3 expeditions back to the same area again and again. And I would find what I thought were artifacts associated with him, even remains of a camp. And I would think, I'm getting closer, I'm getting warmer. If I just keep going, we're gonna narrow this down. And I was ultimately trying to find his last campsite where his epic saga had come to an end. And I thought if I could find that site with the letters I had uncovered, I might be able to actually figure out what had happened to him.
Wow, amazing. And some wildlife. Look at this, like, when you're on this journey and running into this wildlife, it's amazing. Now, I don't want to give away the ending. I don't want to spoil it completely, but you believe that you did crack this case. What can you tell us about what you know or what you believe happened without ruining it at this point? Did you find that site? You believe you found that site?
Yes, I think I found the last campsite where he ultimately met his end. And I had a letter that I'd uncovered about a fur trapper who'd passed through that area a couple years after he disappeared and said that he'd found the remains of a camp. Unfortunately, the fur trapper didn't have a GPS. The latitude, the longitude wasn't known. But I kept trying to narrow it down. There was a clue that I'd been overlooking for years about that location. And then finally, I went back and I found the spot, his final camp. That's the amazing thing about the Arctic. I mean, you drop a pocket knife, 100 years later, it's still there.
Still
you
there.
cut a stump.
In the ice, right?
It's still there. So I found that spot, and ultimately I did find out what had happened to him, and it was not
Don't give it away.
Expected.
Yeah, don't give it away.
It was totally shocking, yeah, but you,
amazing.
You got to read the book.
Got to read the book. Adam Schultz, thank you so much for being here. A quick reminder, too, the book is called Vanish Beyond the Map.
Coming up, we are in the kitchen sharing some delicious breakfast tart recipes.
1.8 million Canadians live with ADHD. And while it is often recognized in childhood, as we know, many people are getting diagnosed later in life. And that can bring a sense of relief, but it can also come with a feeling of, what's next? Now, what do I do? This morning, mental health expert Kalissa Ngazi joins us to talk about self-care strategies. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So good to have you on. So you were diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. What was it like hearing that diagnosis for you?
It was like, okay, that tracks.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
You know, I was able to see ADHD characteristics in other people around me, but I wasn't able to see in myself until they said, no, for sure, you have ADHD.
Was it a sense of relief in a way?
It was,
Yeah.
because it kind of made me understand that what I thought was my normal made more sense, right? So the things that I was doing, the things that I was struggling with, okay, well, I have an ADHD brain, so it works differently than a neurotypical brain.
So once you had that information and that knowledge, what did you do with it? What lifestyle changes did you make?
Well, right away I thought, do I need medication? Do I need chemical intervention? And I tried it, and I think that there is, you know, a proponent for that for a lot of people. For me, not so much. It was really setting boundaries. It was looking at how can I manifest a normal, quote unquote, about life for myself with an ADHD lens. So a lot of strategies I needed to change in my day-to-day life.
I want to walk through some of these strategies. Something called body doubling. I haven't heard of this. What is this?
So body doubling is, in essence, having someone there with you. So whether it's virtually or whether it's in person, they don't necessarily need to talk, but having them there in presence to kind of help you get through, you know, writing a book, you know, going through routines, you know, things of that nature. It's having that presence that helps limit the anxiety that you might feel.
You mean like physically having somebody with you?
Yes.
In every facet of your life? Like,
well, not every facet
how
of
does
your
that
life.
work?
So maybe I'm going through something right now,
Yeah.
you know, some sort of trauma or something that's going on in my life. So I might call a friend and say, listen, I don't need a therapy session, but do you mind just kind of hanging out with me at home?
Oh,
We
I
don't
see.
necessarily need to talk, but having you there and having you present helps with my nervous system.
Oh, so interesting. What about sensory kits? How do you feel about those?
Right. So I don't know if you remember about 3 or 4 years ago, like pop sockets were the rage, and fidget toys
That's
and
right.
all those things. So having a sensory kit is really helpful when you're starting to feel overstimulated. So things like textured fabrics or chewing peppermint gum, maybe throwing in your earbuds, whatever it is, so that stimulation, it helps you with your emotional dysregulation.
Peppermint specifically?
Peppermint, because it kind of triggers something in your brain because it's spicy, right?
Yeah.
My kids call it spicy gum.
Yeah.
So, but
everything is spicy with them.
Everything is spicy. And you know what's funny is I actually identify as being neurospicy, so it works.
Oh, that's so funny. Obviously, sticking to a routine can be quite challenging. So how can anchors help with that?
So really what we mean when we say anchor is we're bookending our day. So if we have a morning routine, I know that I need to get up at 7 a.m. because my kiddos need breakfast, I need to make their lunch for school, and then I start my routine. So whether it's having a glass of, you know, Earl Grey tea, having my shower, you know, practicing mindfulness. And then I also know that at the end of the day, you know, at 8:30 p.m. when bedtime is over in terms of my kiddos, then it's me time. So I'm either reading a book, I'm scrolling on my phone, but it's that predictability that helps just in case, again, if I'm feeling overstimulated.
And did you not do any of this before your diagnosis?
I was all over the place.
You were?
Yeah, and I find people with ADHD thrive on structure, but it also has to be limited. We can't look at something of, okay, so I'm gonna have a goal that's 5 years away from now. That's too long. We need to do things in short intervals of time so that we're not overwhelmed.
And setting boundaries too, you say, is really important.
Let me be clear, no is a complete sentence, and that's something as a society that we really need to embrace, right? Because if we don't have boundaries, then we're gonna be overwhelmed, we're gonna be overstimulated. You know, relationships, whether it's personal, professional, or romantic, they're gonna be affected because we're dysregulated. And when we're dysregulated, people around us are gonna feel it as well.
How difficult was to go from living your life as you've known for, you know, X amount of decades to getting the diagnosis and then switching gears?
For me, it was quite easy because it was almost like an aha moment. And I felt a sense of calm. Okay, Calissa, now you have this label. What are you going to do with it? And how are you going to help everybody else in your life that might be dealing with it as well?
Do you ever deal with the stigma with family members?
No, they understand. And they're like,
Great.
Calissa, it makes absolute complete sense. We saw it.
Yeah, we saw it
Well,
first.
thanks.
Yeah. Calissa, fascinating. Thank you so much for this conversation today. It's super important. Appreciate it.
Still trying to figure out what to have for breakfast this morning? Stick around for this. Today, Chef Paul Lilikis is here with a recipe that combines all of your favorite breakfast ingredients. We have bacon, cheese, eggs, all in one delicious tart. So if you want to make this at home, scan the QR code on the screen right now, and let's welcome Paul back to the kitchen. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We said this was for breakfast, but really I compared it to like an all-season tire.
Totally.
You could use this at any meal.
It could be dinner, it could be lunch, it could be lunch on a patio, an elegant sort of French bistro
like
brunch.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, let's get started. What is in this? Because I listed off all my favorite ingredients.
Except for onion, which goes so well with bacon and cheese and eggs, and we're basically just making a very quick and simple tart.
Okay, what do we do first?
Okay, so I've already browned off bacon here and onion, and this is all gonna happen in this pan, so here's what I'm doing.
Even the baking part?
Everything.
Oh, okay.
So I'm using a nonstick skillet,
all right,
and I'm just gonna remove the bacon and onion that I've already cooked.
Okay, do you need my help?
Keeping some of that fat. I will need your help in just 1 second.
Okay.
So I'm removing this, and just to drain here like that, and then another thing to mention, if you want to pick up this ramekin here and see how much fat I removed already when I was frying that bacon, because we want some of it to stay in here, but not all of it.
Okay.
Okay.
So you actually removed this before we do all this stuff?
Yes, because
Okay.
I already fried that bacon, removed some of it, and then sauteed the onion with the bacon. That's that beautiful smell in the air.
Okay.
Okay, now here's the interesting part.
All right.
We're going to press some brioche into this pan, and that's going
Right
to be
now?
our crust right now. Here.
Oh, okay.
So
Show me first. How do I do it?
Let's just press that in.
Like this?
Yeah, just like that. And then we're going to tear if we need to fill in the gaps here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And just make a single layer. And this is basically for people who love a quiche but are a little bit too lazy to make a quiche, which, let's be real, not every day is a make a quiche
Do I have
from
to fill in
scratch day.
all the pieces?
Not
It's like
perfectly,
pottery?
but yeah,
Okay.
just like that.
Like, okay.
Yeah, just press that in like that. And then we're going to make our filling. So I'm whisking up a dozen eggs. So
A dozen eggs?
A dozen eggs.
Okay.
So this is a pretty simple recipe in that it uses a carton of eggs. You can use any bread, by the way. It doesn't have to be brioche like this. It could be.
Why do you like
day-old bread.
brioche, though? Day-old would be good, too.
Day-old would be great. Kind of like in French toast making.
Yep.
So I like brioche because it's a delicious, rich egg bread. This is a very kind of French-inspired dish.
Okay.
But like I said, use whatever bread you've got. So you want to add here a teaspoon and a half of sea salt.
Oh, okay.
That's 1 teaspoon, so 1.5 of those. And I'm just whisking this up. I'm going to add about half a cup of heavy cream.
Okay.
Some black pepper. You need black pepper with rich dishes. Whoa, that was close.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I did, but I also saw you catch it with your hip, which was very impressive.
I've done that for years when your hands are busy in the kitchen.
Sure.
And cheese, some kind of a semi-soft cheese.
Okay.
Whatever cheese you've got on hand will work.
Do you like one with a sharper, like a bite to it, or something mild?
I do. It depends who you're cooking for.
Okay.
But especially with this, we got strong flavors going on here.
Okay.
And then this is going right back in here.
Well, the bacon comes in.
Yep.
Okay.
You can keep whisking.
Delicious.
So you see this is really kind of streamlined and simple. All that flavor infuses into the egg
Your
mixture.
muscles are bigger than mine. I'm going to let you get at it.
And really, this is all you have to do. You just want to make sure that that salt is nice and dissolved in there and distributed. And then this is the part that might seem a little strange, but
You're just going to dump that all in there?
legit.
Okay.
Just right over top like this.
Okay. So the brioche is the crust.
The brioche is the crust. And then this mixture, I wish I had a spatula. My mom would kill me for not getting every drop.
And I know she's going to,
She's gonna see this.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if you need to, just maybe swirl this around so the egg is
You
really,
want it to completely cover the bread?
Yeah, it doesn't have to completely cover it. I kind of like the way that it sticks out a little bit
Because
there.
it'll brown, it'll look pretty.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
And then a little bit of chives on top. And this is gonna go into the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes, depends on your oven. Yeah, very quick.
What are you putting it at?
I'm putting this oven at 350.
Okay.
That goes right in like that.
All right.
And then it could be 20, it could be 30. So keep your eye on that. And if you need, do the jiggle test. You just gotta like bang on it.
Jiggle test?
If you bang on the oven and you can see through it, you can see that the center still jiggles a little. It could pop out.
So it
at
needs
that
to
point.
fold, not jiggle? Just kidding.
Yes.
All right.
Look at how beautiful that
It is.
looks.
When do I get to eat it?
Okay, we're gonna cut you a slice right now.
Okay. Cheesy and eggy.
And eggy, and it slices into a nice tart, but you don't have to worry about making that crust.
Oh, the crust looks good.
I got you that piece that has
Yeah,
just
the
a little
bit of bread poking out. I see it now. Delicious. What are you serving this with, by the way?
I'm serving this with a light salad because it is kind of rich.
Yeah.
So a salad with a mustardy vinaigrette.
Ooh.
That goes right like that. Here.
I mean,
switch
I
it.
always take my eggs with a little bit of hot sauce, but...
But this has a lot going on, so I wouldn't want to mask it.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. That was big chunks of bacon.
Big chunks of bacon. Bacon and onion. There's something about that combination.
Paul, this was so easy.
Yeah, thanks.
And looks fancy.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Well, mission accomplished. Thank you so much. A reminder,
you.
if you want the recipe, scan the QR code. Definitely get this recipe. It's a good one.
Next week on Your Morning, so you went apple picking. So many apples. Now what? We're bringing you fall recipe ideas using apples.
So that's it for all of us on today's Your Morning Weekend. Don't forget, scan the QR codes. You'll get our Your Morning newsletter, and you can listen to more great conversations on Your Morning, the podcast.
We have another great week coming up on Thursday. Fall recipes using all of those apples.
Looking forward to that. And on Wednesday, we'll be joined by Chantal Kraviatsik.
Sounds good. Her upcoming album is really cool. You've heard of Taylor's version. This is Chantal's version. It's all of her big hits but it's songs that she wrote for other artists that you know and you can sing along to. This time she's in front of the mic.
It's really cool. I didn't know she was behind some of these huge hits, right? Like Over My Dead Body with Drake.
And Rich Girl by Gwen Stefani.
All the ones you like to
Stefani.
sing in your car.
Yeah, and so many other artists. Britney Spears. And
Kendrick Lamar. I'm sure to ask her about working with Drake and Kendrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Canada. We're going to see you on Monday.